All right. Hello, everyone. We're just getting started right now. I can see we have quite a few people jumping into the webinar, so we're going to give it a minute and then get going today with the topic of amenities your residents will love. All right. It seems like everybody joined in pretty quickly here, so we're going to get started now. I'm Becky McLaughlin. I'm the Vice President of Marketing at WithMe, home of the multifamily amenities. Print with me and sip with me. We're happy to host today's panel, Amenities Your Residents Will Love, covering our favorite topic, amenities. This session is being recorded right now and will be shared with attendees after the event. Today's discussion will be led by Jonathan Treble, our CEO here at WithMe, and the host of the new-ish podcast. It's been around now for a little bit, Multifamily Excellence. So here's a brief commercial for that. If you like what you hear today, please check out our podcast for more. And with that, I'd like to turn the discussion over to Jonathan, where he'll introduce our panel. Jonathan.
Thank you, Becky, and thank you all for joining us today. As Becky mentioned, I'm Jonathan Treble. I'm the founder and CEO of WithMe, the home of Print With Me and Sip With Me. And we have some great panelists with us here today to discuss this exciting topic. First, we have Deanna Coomer-Pope, the Regional Vice President at Bozzuto. She sits in Florida and has the best weather out of all of us right now. We have Kelli Stuart, General Manager and Assistant Vice President at Draper and Kramer out of Chicago. And we have Connor Sauerbrey, did I get that right? The Leasing and Marketing Manager at Asset Living, and he sits in North Carolina. So welcome, panelists. We're excited to dive into this topic with you. First up, let's talk about essential amenities. Not all amenities are essential, but some really are. The first question we have for the panel today, what amenities do you consider essential for every property? And whoever wants to jump in, don't do it all at once.
I was going to say, I can go, Jonathan. Thanks so much. I would say one of the essential amenities would be dog parks. Everyone loves their pets, and I feel like a lot of our residents these days do have pets. So I would say dog amenities, pet amenities.
Okay. Fair.
Absolutely. We definitely see that here in Chicago as well. In addition, business centers or co-working spaces. We've got a lot of those work from homers, and they need a place to go that's at their home, but not in their home. And certainly the printing aspect comes with that as well.
Yeah, I agree to all of those. And then I would just say, on top of that, just simply kind of like an exercise center, no matter inside or outside, just somewhere for them to stretch their feet and get moving.
That all sounds fair. Those seem like three essentials. Are there, of those three, how well utilized are those at your properties? Do you have a sense of generally like what, I don't know, rough percentage of residents utilize those three categories?
Percentage-wise, no, but our dog park is slammed from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. every single day, rain, shine, snow. It doesn't matter. People love that dog park.
Wow. That makes
sense. I was going
to
agree with Kelli. Like our dog amenities, whether that's a dog wash, a dog grooming, even down to, those mobile pet grooming stations are well received all the time. Along with our fitness centers. They are, every time I tour a property, people are in there working out day and night.
And Connor, would you say the same?
Yeah, I would say the same. I think especially since my property is kind of student focused, I think that business center is a lot, and even the printing, because normally on campus you have to pay. So they're even just having somewhere 2 minutes away to study instead of 5 to 10.
Okay. So I like how we narrowed in on those three categories. We have a fitness center, we have a business center, some place for people to work that's not their unit, and we have dog amenities. let's call those the staple amenities, if we will. My next question is going to be, how have you found, the three panelists here, how have you found ways to enhance those amenities beyond just the basics that, most properties do?
Shopping the competition and knowing how you can get that one up from your competition communities is key. So if, the competition community has a business center that has, more bells and whistles, what can you do to bring your level one notch above? So that's certainly, community specific, but just knowing who you're up against in your surrounding area and how you can gain that competitive edge.
Well said. Any specific enhancements that anyone here has either implemented recently or seen recently that you think is really going to catch on and maybe become a new normal for any of those staples?
I would say even like especially like the Tesla chargers or electric vehicles in general. I think that's kind of something that's going from one of those something that would be good to have to a staple, and that's something that can be put into any property, not just one that's being built. And then other than that, I would say our community specifically, we just placed an order for our Peloton bikes, so we're very excited about that, so we can upgrade our gym a little bit.
Nice. Yeah, I have seen Peloton myself as a renter in a amenitized building, and it is slammed. I wonder how, I'm not a user, but I wonder how folks deal with like conflicting schedules on the Peloton, right? And it's great to see people introducing themselves. If you haven't yet, oh, hi Stacy, I know you. Please add, where you're watching from and anything you'd like about sports or the weather. So great. Let's keep going. What are the next category of amenities here? Let's talk. Well, before we do, I actually noticed a question. Let's do it while we're on dog parks. There's a great question from David. What is the cost of upkeep for your dog parks? Are they true grass parks or are they turf dog runs? And have you noticed turf dog runs getting smelly and undesirable? Great questions.
That is a great question. I can certainly help answer. So I have a couple different markets that I oversee. So my Florida assets, we tend to see grass, like true grass dog parks. They're a little bit larger depending on, where you're located. Those are obviously easier to maintain. Our on-site staff does maintain those. In our northern markets, we have more turf. So a lot of planning goes into that, making sure it has water and it's a self-cleaner, because they do, I think to your point, get very stinky if you don't maintain them. So we do see that we're changing out turf, every 2 years and having to maintain it a little bit more than just like an open grass turf for our dog parks.
Well said.
Having irrigation too is key. It sounds crazy to irrigate turf, but it is definitely necessary, yes, to have some sort of wash down system and put it on a schedule, from 6 to 6:30 a.m. every day, the sprinklers are going to go on. And so put it on a schedule, posting that schedule, and it just becomes the norm. And your residents, know that things stay as fresh as possible.
Well said. Yeah, and I've
It looks like Jonathan.
Wi-Fi was going to be funny.
So Jonathan's joining us from a hotel with Wi-Fi that he did warn us may go out. So we were going to head into the topic of trending and nice to have amenities, moving on from elevating our staple amenities. And I'd like to open the question up to this panel around what amenities are residents and prospective residents asking for right now.
While we're on the topic of Wi-Fi, is something that is, a need to have. And I guess we didn't cover that. Wi-Fi in your common spaces, on your roof decks, so indoors and outdoors, even outside of your co-working spaces where people can hang out and still work if they need to, or browse Instagram or TikTok. So that is definitely a must. And just making sure, right, that it's reliable and that your residents have access, to the password, if it's password protected.
Yeah, I agree. I agree completely with you, Kelli. And then I think we were speaking last time that we spoke about how, especially with me being in a student property, it's a little different. But just community wise, having somewhere for them to have a community. I know that depends on what property you're at and things like that. But especially here in student housing, we really want somewhere where they can connect, get to know each other, and just create a family and friends here.
Yeah, I think I'm seeing, in our new devs, also with some of our retrofitting our communities, anything to do with like cold plunges, saunas, recovery rooms, salt rooms. So anywhere that someone can feel that they are, their sanctuary, right? Like they're home away from home, but they get to like rejuvenate in themselves. So I'm seeing a lot of that. Not necessarily those are today's amenities, but I feel like more and more properties will grab onto those because they are like that rest and recovery. And our residents are working hard day in and day out. So they need somewhere to feel that they can just like relax along, they're working from home, they're home taking care of their home. So I think some of those recovery items is something that would be like a nice to have. And I'm in Florida, so virtual golf as well. We're seeing a lot of folks that want to have some virtualness as well as the amenity. Now you can have virtual golf and kickball and soccer, if you will, all virtual. So people are really enjoying there, and I'm seeing more and more communities either retrofit that or make sure that that's now like a staple in some of these new developments.
And Deanna, to the point of a lot of residents are working from home, is work from home or work from home spaces and amenities trending? Are they a necessity? Are they a nice to have?
I think it's a necessity. I think if COVID taught us anything, that people now can be so remote. Almost any business can be remote. So I don't see that going away. And I see more and more people wanting to also be out of their apartment. So, I work, from home. I have a home office, but I would love to sit in an amenity or by the pool or anywhere else. So I don't think that's going away. And I think it's been embraced, if you will. So that's almost now a necessity. Like you have to have that space.
And you can hear me, right? I've come back on my cell phone.
You're back.
Thank you, Becky, for pitching in. I have a follow-up on that. So, and I noticed the chat had a question about Peloton. Maybe those are being discontinued in some multifamily communities, but I know mine has it. I've seen it in others. For Peloton and for, let's say, these co-working rooms, like conference rooms, have any of you created a solution for reserving some of these amenities that are really only able to be used by one resident at the same time at one time, right? Or do you just kind of let it go first come, first serve without scheduling?
Scheduling is totally necessary. My current community has over 900 residents, and to have things like that be a free-for-all would never work. So similar to how we schedule the freight elevator for move-in, we use that same scheduling platform, either through our current leasing, anybody's current leasing software system, I would say, or lead management system, or there's outside systems too. Elevated Living, I know, has reservations, but you can put a reservation in for anything. We reserve our grills, like I said, freight elevator, guest suite reservations. You could certainly add co-working spaces. Our community across the street, does the Peloton reservations that way. And so, I think you can put anything with a reservation on there.
Got it. And is there a way to monetize through that reservation platform, or is it just reserving the time?
No, you can reserve a time and make your full payment, which connects to the resident portal.
Okay, neat. Very cool. And Becky, I'll turn it back to you because now that I'm on the phone, I can't see where we are on the slide deck order. So thank you.
Absolutely. So we were just covering what amenities residents and prospective residents are asking for right now. And we covered community spaces, we covered work from home spaces, we covered cold plunges. And next up, we're wondering what amenities are you and your colleagues and your peers just most excited about right now? We kind of covered that a little bit with trending amenities, but what else are you just really excited about right now?
I would say I'm excited. We have some properties currently that have, podcast studios, recording, music studios. So I'm really excited to bring that. I think our residents are very talented. And so to be able to be part of, their self-starters and entrepreneurs and see that come to life in some of our amenities has been really, really awesome for us to see. So I'm excited to see a little bit more of that, where a resident not is just working from home, but that's like their passion, and we get to be part of those amenities in there.
Cool. That's awesome. And did you say like a recording studio amenity?
We do, yeah. So
Oh,
we have
wow.
a property, we manage a property in Nashville, Tennessee. And so right on Broadway, as you can imagine, everyone wants to be a star there. So we have a piano and drums, and it's really a recording studio. Same in one of our Atlanta, we have a building in Atlanta that is strictly podcast. So every day someone's in there doing a live podcast. So that's been really, really cool to watch and partner with as well. So.
Wow. Okay. Should we move on to selecting amenities?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay. First question to the panel. Where do you typically get information about specific amenities and vendors / suppliers?
I would say most of ours come strictly by, especially in a big city, they stop by. So they're dropping off their cards, goodie bags, all that stuff. We just have to get connected with them and make sure that we stay in contact. So when we're ready to use them and ready to, get that amenity set up with them, we can.
Staying up to date too on the new buildings opening in the area, even if they're not in your direct, submarket. A couple miles away in downtown Chicago sounds like a far place to reach, but these new communities have, blank canvases that they're outfitting with all of the latest and greatest ideas. And so to learn from them for our newly opening buildings, but also to get ideas on how we can enhance our current amenities, they're a great resource.
And I would just add, trade shows, being part of the apartment association, attending webinars like this one, where you can hear some folks talking about, what they're seeing, because there's amenity after amenity after amenity. I think every building is different. I think Kelli and I were talking about this a week ago, where you just shop your comps too. So shopping those comps and seeing who's putting in what, if it's a new or an older community, people are always renovating. But yeah, I'd say being part of your association as well.
Well said. So any vendors listening in, it's important to get out there. We know that. Next question. How do you identify unmet amenity needs in your communities and assess the demand for, let's say, some of these newer amenities that are coming out, but maybe you're not quite sure how popular they would be?
I'll say at Bozzuto, we love reviews. So we're constantly polling our residents. They're the best people to tell you what they like and what they want. And so I think we do a really great job of asking our residents, like, what do you see, right? Because they're living at our property. So I think just asking them what they want to see, or what they don't use, right? Because we don't want to have just a room sitting there. So asking our residents.
Cool. And next question, maybe targeted a bit more toward Connor and student housing. What are you seeing in student housing in particular for any new wants or needs in this current cycle, this academic year?
Yeah. And so just like in general, I think I said a little bit of it earlier, but it's just having a place for them to get to know each other. They all go to the same school. They all live in the same community. They want to get to know each other. They want to hang out. They want to take pictures before they go to their formal for their Greek life event. It's just so many things of just our pool, our clubhouse, anything that has multiple seats and there can be a community. I think that's what they're really looking for this year, especially in our location. They just want to feel like they're included.
Okay. Building community. Well said.
Yes.
Question for the whole panel is next. Do you have specific vetting processes for vendors and suppliers? For example, let's say you meet one of these newer vendors at a trade show, or they stop by, but you haven't heard of them before. How do you vet them? How do you know that they're going to be a vendor that you can trust?
I can answer this one. I would say, it's a pretty small industry. And so meeting someone at a trade show or at an event, I think you listen and meet and maybe look at another building that they've put an amenity in, or what have you. I think, again, it's a small industry. And so just seeing what they're there to offer and listening. I mean, I know personally, we have taken lots of chances on vendors before and they've been great. And then the next thing you know, all the properties are using them. So it's a pretty easy, I would say, process just to get one property started, taking that chance, that leap of faith, with vendors.
Yep. Well said. And let's see, next couple of questions around maybe some hidden gems. Are there any amenities that have significantly helped you increase operational efficiency in recent years? And might be tough to just think on the spot about that. So I'll ask the second question and see if this helps inspire any answers too. Are there any amenities that you've been able to find help decrease operational expenses or control your costs? And we know that this is a tough time for a lot of multifamily operators with interest rates up, insurance costs high, and everyone is looking to make savings happen where they can. So have there been any categories where you've been able to streamline costs in any way?
So we have definitely seen cost savings in switching our prior coffee machines to the Sip With Me coffee. It's been fantastic. Sip With Me, has their monitoring system, on their end. And so they know of problems before we even know of problems sometimes. The cost of supplies we're really happy with, the ease of use and training all of our staff members to know how to clean the machine and refill the machine, etc. The training has been really fantastic. So
cool. Thank you, and thanks for the plug, though that was not rehearsed. Yeah, any other vendors or categories entirely in the amenity space where you've either found efficiency or some cost reduction benefits?
Yeah, Jonathan, I don't know if I would call it cost reduction, but we've started we call it a Bozzuto ambassador program. So we have found residents that they really love the property. They've had a great experience. We actually bring them in to talk through resident events. So very similar to working with our teams, finding out what other residents would like. Again, we like to poll our residents. So finding out what the residents want. And then those Bozzuto ambassadors at every property is able to, help host the resident events. And really, I think Connor said it earlier, just building that community. So I don't know if it's a cost reduction, but it's certainly less burden for the leasing team to do some of those events while making sure that the residents feel super engaged. So it's been helpful. I think we have more residents coming to the events because they are putting them on as a group, which has been cool.
That's really neat. And so these are handpicked residents and they're coming to resident events and sharing their experiences. Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right. And going next to the, I believe is the final category for our discussion before we go into Q&A, leveraging your amenities. So you make these investments in many amenities, OpEx and CapEx. Are there any ways that you, across, it could be any amenity that you think is notable, ways that you promote your amenities and encourage residents to use them more?
I think showing, especially just simply social media, showing the other residents and the other people that are using those amenities can give them kind of that push to, well, I've been thinking about using this for 2 months. Let me go ahead and do it today. So that can kind of
Right.
give them that push. Well, my neighbor's doing it, let me.
Right.
We've had great success in hosting events in those amenities that maybe are kind of outside of what that amenity is for. So you get new mulch in the dog park. Let's host a champagne toast in the dog park. Glass free, of course. Host a cocktail hour in the business center, just to draw people to that location for a different reason, to showcase that space.
Great ideas.
And I would just add that for us, for our company, we do a move-in orientation with every new resident. And so in this orientation, we give them a digital book. We call it a welcome home guide. And we've actually taken videos of all the amenities at your property and kind of like a how-to guide to use them. So it makes it really easy for the residents, because when they move in, they are probably super overwhelmed of what is even at your community. They might have forgotten that you have a business center or you have a cold plunge. So this document is a live guide that they can just scan a QR code, and we show them where it's located, what the hours are, and how they reserve it if it's reservable.
Cool. Well said. Well said. And any other tips while we're talking about leveraging amenities? Any other ways that you either promote them or cross pollinate them with residents beyond what has already been mentioned?
We try to use our whole team too. So our front desk staff make sure that they know the amenities, right? That sounds like a little thing, but truly make sure they know, what they are, where they're located, how our residents can access them, to make sure that they can answer any questions about them. But even, from a maintenance side too, just make sure that people are aware of what your building has to offer, so that way they can talk to people about it too.
Great. And in the chat, I noticed Stacy also vouching for Dina's QR code or guide idea. So
It's
thank
so
you, Stacy.
You know what, Stacey,
Well,
something really cool with that too is like we can see when our residents are clicking in there. So we know if they're actually watching the videos, and it's kind of cool to see what they're interested in. So if everybody's clicking on the pool, we know that the pool is like a really popular amenity. Or if, I think what Kelli said, if we have a dog park and we want to celebrate something in there and no one's clicking on it, we can see that maybe they're not interested. So it's kind of cool using that QR code and some tools to make videos so you can watch people what they like and what they're clicking on. So
great. Well, that concludes our slides and our structured conversation. Let's jump into Q&A. And we already have some questions here. I will go back and forth with Becky. I don't have access to all of what's said because I had to rejoin later, but I'll just start with the couple that I can see. One of them being from Jason: is a test or chef's kitchen in the common area continued? Are they used enough for them to justify continuing to be being put into new developments? Does anybody have an opinion on that?
I would say yes. I definitely think it depends on the demographic, but our chef kitchens that we have, the majority of my portfolio definitely get used. I think we leverage a little bit of social media, some influencers to help us with that as well. So it gets residents really excited when we have a guest, chef come in and do some demonstrations. But yeah, I think that they're still relevant.
I've also seen some of our competition communities kind of gravitate more towards the catering kitchen than a chef's kitchen. So, maybe you don't want to cook for your friends, right? But you're getting food in. And so to make sure there's an ice maker in there to be ready for those drinks, with ice cubes, to make it, there's a million different things that you can add, but not so much that you are the one doing the cooking or that you're having someone come and cook, but that you have a place with all the bells and whistles to set up your catering, or for the caterers to set up their catering.
I love that. Yeah.
Good to know. Thank you. Thank you all. Here's another question that just came in from Stacy. What are some of the up and coming amenities you have heard of recently?
I might have already said this, but Stacey, we're seeing cold plunges, saunas, some salt rooms that are, a full 360 salt room to give you a little bit of rest and recovery. So that's been up and coming in most of our new development deals that we're seeing. That is almost in every new building that we are managing.
There have been some family spaces or children's rooms that I've seen at some of the new communities, which are really cool, to gear towards those families.
And then other than that, I think we're on the outskirts of Charlotte. So I think even like the golf simulator and such, that's new to us. That's not seen around here. So even that is something new in our market.
I love those rooms, Connor. I love those virtual spaces.
Nice. And Becky, do you see any other questions from earlier in the webinar that we haven't gotten to yet?
No, we didn't have other questions, just lots of shout outs of amenities that are hot and trending, like virtual golf, like recovery rooms, cold plunges, sauna, climate controlled pools. I think I captured everything there. So no more questions. So the floor is absolutely open to all those joining us today for any questions you have for this panel about amenities.
I'll just say all this discussion makes me want to go tour a bunch of places and level up.
The way to do it.
I just toured a property a couple weeks ago, one of our clients here in the Philadelphia area, and my mind was really blown at how luxurious the spaces can be. And I'd really like to just pack up my bags every day and go work there if I could.
So we just got a great question from Jay. What is an amenity that you feel is being outdated or phased out, I suppose? So maybe no longer being used or converted into something else.
I think even, and I think I mentioned this, I think me and Kelli or me and Deanna were talking about it the last time we had spoke, but I think a tanning room is kind of something that's kind of leaving. We have it at our property. It's, there's health risks, and especially here it's 77 degrees today. They want to be outside. So I think that's one that I've kind of thinking might phase out in the future.
Yep, that makes sense. Yep, Stacy mentioning another friend at another PMC says a wine room is being phased out. I'm surprised they even had a wine room. Never heard of that, but it makes sense. Here's another, well, any other amenities being phased out from any of our panelists before we move on?
Because of all those virtual sport simulators, right? Golf and soccer. I have heard that the outdoor putting greens are kind of a thing of the past. Especially in Chicagoland area, right? You can only use those for a few months out of the year. And while, instead you can have an indoor golf simulator to use 24/7. So.
And then Shelby, yes, the I'm talking tanning bulbs, not just the. If we had the spray tan, we would keep that 100%.
I've heard theater rooms or cinemas are being phased out and converted. Is anyone else seeing that?
I don't have a lot of those in my portfolio, but I have toured buildings, and when I ask, if one person is in there, it kind of closes it down for everyone. So I can see how that would be phased out just to maximize your space a little bit more.
Right. Right. Okay. Let's see. Well, I don't see any other questions. Actually, I do. Rita asked a question. As a student property built in 1968, we have renovated the units and the clubhouse, but do not have the real estate to add onto the property. Does anyone have ideas for 576 square feet to set the community apart from the competition, from a newer build?
I mean, I kind of liked the spray tan idea.
That's a cool idea.
I'd say 576 square feet is pretty large. Like food deliveries are so popular right now. And so I know some of us have Luxor room and parcel rooms, but having like a little dedicated space just for food deliveries has been really popular. So that's an easy retrofit. You just need some shelving. You just need some shelving in there, and then you can call it the delivery.
And I know, especially with DoorDash, for example, they will work with you. They gave us all of our flyers, everything. This is where you drop off your food, put it here. They're awesome to work with.
Yes.
All right. Well, I'm going to hand it back over to Becky to conclude. But panelists, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and talents with all of us. And look forward to seeing more of the audience. This is a fun audience, very engaged on our next webinar. So thank you all for joining.
Yeah, Jonathan, thanks so much for leading that conversation. And I'd love to just ask one last question of each panelist, which is, what are your parting words of wisdom about amenities in multifamily right now in 2024?
I would say, Becky, just to shop your comps and know what's out there. Even if you have an older building or you have a new building, everything is made strictly for the residents. So know what your residents want, because ultimately they're living in the building. And I think if you have amenities that are truly focused to your residents, they will get used all the time. So.
Exactly. Stemming off of what Deanna said, it can be daunting to see all of these new buildings with the newest bells and whistles, coming up. And, I personally, I'm at a 1950s property. And so, right, we don't have the space and we don't have all those bells and whistles. And so just to know the space that you have, to know what you have, and honestly, just do it well. Do well with what you have. And make sure that you're promoting what you have too. Having an awesome space does absolutely nothing if people don't know about it.
And I would quite literally copy and paste exactly what Deanna and Kelli said. Like, perfect, no, nothing needs to be added.
Great. Well, I didn't really share the slide deck throughout this presentation because the conversation was just flowing. But to bring the slides back up here, we already did the question and answer part. This is where I say thank you. I say thank you to the panelists for joining today, for sharing your opinions and your experience on the topic of amenities that residents will love, your staple amenities, elevating those amenities, and what's trending, what's nice to have, how to select your vendor, and your parting words of wisdom. So thank you so much. This presentation was recorded and it's going to be shared with everyone who attended today and also for those who signed up but couldn't make it. So we look forward to seeing you all on the playback. any questions that you have around today's recording, or if you'd like us to pass questions to our panelists outside of this discussion, can be sent to my team here at WithMe at marketing@withme.com. We've got quite a few more webinars scheduled for the year, so keep an eye out for some coming up throughout the spring into the summer, leading right up to Apartmentalize, where we will be, and look forward to seeing you here in my hometown of Philadelphia. So join us there as well. Again, thank you to this panel so much. And thank you to everyone who's joined us today. We look forward to seeing you on our next webinar. Bye.